uh, I just call me Nate, I guess. Call me by my government name. Uh, am teaching my friend Nathan about Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, and I'm gonna remember very little, but I'm gonna try. There's a lot of things.
That's okay. It's listen. I actually for this first episode, I actually do deal a little bit with the meta stuff around it, and don't worry about forgetting things. I actually found out through research a little bit of the scale of 40k is like in the real world scale is a lot bigger than I thought. So anyway, yeah, the idea is I'm going to teach him about 40k. He knows basically nothing. I mean, if you would like to describe what you know.
I think what I described to you before is big dudes in big suits of armor, and they got big balls. That's about all I know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, basically that's 40k in a nutshell. Uh,
I see them
I'm gonna
wrecking
be
stuff.
crucified. Yeah, I'm gonna be crucified by the fan base if this ever gets any attention. Um,
Yeah, well,
but anyway,
I mean, bad
yeah,
attention, same thing. Good attention, right?
yeah, it's all the same. I am I'm a vicious internet e girl, and I just thrive on attention, whether good or bad.
I'll take whatever
Um,
exposure, even if it's bad.
yeah, yeah. I would probably qualify as a tourist because I myself I really enjoy the lore. I've played a couple games. I've read a number of books. Um, it's even a two-digit number. Uh,
Oh my gosh. I
yeah.
might have read two digits in books, maybe.
Well, I mean,
Maybe.
I'm just 40k books. Let me
Oh,
clarify. I've
oh.
read a few other books in my day, but anyway, so I know some about 40k. I rather enjoy it, and I harass my coworkers at work by talking about it a lot. But I said I probably qualify as a tourist. I don't actually have any of the tabletop models. There's no community around where we're at. I guess suppose for clarity for anyone who's listening, Nathan and I are friends like from high school, from middle school. We both grew up and live in the same town. So uh, our local community doesn't really have 40k stuff, so I never had exposure to it that way, and obviously Nathan wouldn't have either.
No,
I
I have
presume.
I have a bunch of random Warhammer games in my Steam library because of Humble Bundle. I probably have like 8 or 9 of them, but I haven't touched any of them.
And you should. Bottom text because 40k. I'm so as I kind of touched on. This is a bit of meta context. 40k is meant to mostly be the tabletop wargaming. That's like it's owned by a company called Games Workshop. That's where most of the money they make is in. Uh, but there is all the video games and stuff, and uh, genuinely, when you take the whole collective body of Warhammer 40k, it is probably one of the largest like works of creative works ever made.
Hmm.
Um, it started off in 1987, by the way. So this is a decade older than we are. Uh, and and it started off as a science fantasy ripoff of their own game. Not a ripoff, I guess, a spin-off of their own game, Warhammer Fantasy. I promised to send photos. I sent you a picture of the tabletop. You've seen it. So this is Warhammer Fantasy. It's similar-ish. The total you've played Total Rome, I think, or one of the Total War games.
I have seen gameplay of those because people always did the funny. I don't know if this was modded or it's just base games. Probably base game because they seem ridiculous. But these massive scale wars of like, would 100 of these dudes beat 1,000,000 of these dudes? Seen those kinds of things. I don't know if it was one of those, but
Okay, well, they have the Total War game have made Total War Warhammer fantasy games set in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. Um, I played a little bit of them. I'm not very good at them, but they're fun. Fantasy is canonically gone. They killed it. I don't know much about it specifically, but I understand that they killed it. Uh, and also, but it was a spin-off of that. So it's a spin-off set in science fiction. So you'll notice when you deal with a lot of the different factions and stuff, they're very fantasy coded, if that makes sense. Like there's space elves and space orcs and space dwarves. Uh, and so have you heard of the concept of grimdark?
Um, that sounds vaguely familiar.
It's the idea of like the depressing despair universe. 40K is where the term comes from. So it's, as I said, it is, and it's one of the largest works of fiction ever. I saw an estimate on the Science Fiction Stack Exchange from 5 years ago that estimated that there's more than 500 books in written for 40K, and there's a total of at least, on like a conservative estimate, 67 million words written.
Huh. Yeah, so a few. Of
Yeah,
course, that
just a
number
few.
has to keep popping up. It's gonna haunt me forever.
Yeah, that there's 6-7 million. Uh,
Okay.
that's it. I'm gonna
There's a reason I said 8 or 9 Warhammer games. It's because I was like, I
yeah
can't go much lower than that.
yeah. We're running out of numbers we can use.
Yeah,
Uh,
eventually everything's gonna mean something, and then it's gonna be like that one meme. What
yeah.
was that? Oh, it's the syndrome. And when everybody's
Oh
super,
yeah.
no one will be.
Yeah, but every number's a meme. None are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So like it's huge. It's gigantic. There's all these different factions. All of this different lore. There's the different games. I just the books alone. I've probably only read maybe like 5% of the body of work that exists. So I am still a casual, I guess. Many would probably call me a tourist. Um, and in fact, as I said before, if this ever takes off, a good chunk of the fan base is going to hate me probably specifically
I mean,
because I
I'm
don't do the mods.
I'm sure they're going to hate me plenty
Um,
just because I have. You know, I'll list off the games that I have not touched. Actually, I'll click just to make
yeah,
sure that I haven't so much as installed any of these. I'm pretty sure. Oh wait, no. Okay, I did 20 minutes of Space Marine Anniversary, which means that I
nice.
opened it and it was on the title screen, and I came back to my desk and then closed it and never opened it again. So I have Total War Warhammer 3. I have 40K Battle Sector, Bolt Gun, Chaos Gate, Demon Hunters, Dark Tide, Gladius Relics of War, Mechanicus, Rogue Trader, Space Marine Anniversary, 20 minutes of that, Speed Freaks, and then Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin, Chaos Bane, and Vermintide 2. I haven't touched a single one of them. Maybe after all these, that'll change. But yeah, people can roast me and be like, you have to do this one. And then someone else is going to be like, no, you have to do this one. You're wrong. But, you know.
I yeah, I will personally say Mechanicus is like my favorite, probably
Mm-hmm.
on the list. Uh, I really like that game. I think everybody likes that game though, so that's like that's very much a I enjoy eating ice cream opinion. Uh,
Yeah, it's a rather cold take.
yeah, it's subarctic levels of cold take.
Yeah.
Uh, but so yeah, I mean, you have the ability kind of to get into it to a degree. Uh, there is in a couple of years, possibly, maybe going to be a TV show made by Amazon, and I eagerly await normies getting their minds pulverized into dust, uh, if that ever comes into existence. But as I said, today we're here for you, so
Hooray.
that's kind of all the big meta stuff out of the way. Uh, and so we're gonna get into it. The very first edition of Warhammer 40K was called 40K Rogue Trader,
Ah, I have that.
and not the game. This is Rogue Trader,
The board game?
the tabletop
Ah.
game. It is interesting. I've read through the Rogue Trader book. You can find it for free online very easily. Uh, it's a mixture of how to put it. It's like a mixture of the tabletop rules, but it's also got like other stuff for what seems like a D&D, a tabletop roleplay game with the 40K universe rather than just the minis and the battle.
Hmm.
So it's a little different than the modern day game, and a lot of the lore mentioned in it is not accurate to the setting at all. Uh, but it opens with an introduction that has been changed and manipulated over time. But I want to read this to you for kind of the beginning. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, to whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day, and for whom blood is drunk and flesh eaten. Human blood and human flesh, the stuff of which the Imperium is made. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. This is the tale of these times. Forget the power of technology, science, and common humanity. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for there is no peace amongst the stars. Only an eternity of slaughter and carnage and the laughter of thirsting gods. Now, a lot of that isn't relevant anymore, but how's that for an introduction?
I mean, it sounds quite peaceful and cheery, and
Yeah,
quite a time to
uh,
be alive, or dead.
yeah, it is a time certainly. I had to truncate it slightly because there's it gets a little meta, like referring to you specifically,
Mm,
as in it's like because it's an introduction to a game.
right.
So I kind of cut that out. So it's not the full quote, and there are versions of this that are used that are more accurate to the current state of the lore and stuff. But I really like Rogue Trader as kind of a separate thing. So that's my own little thing. And here's I'm gonna start lying to you now, because do you know why Warhammer 40K is called Warhammer 40K?
Uh, hmm. Because the Emperor could kill 40,000 people with his warhammer in one swipe.
Yes, but also no.
Oh, that
It's
was
because
close.
it's set in the year 40,000 more or less,
I
and
see.
that's a lie. Sort of. So it's meant to be set in roughly the year 40,000. Unfortunately, after nearly 40 years of lore, uh, the timeline has kind of crept along, and if you keep track of things, we're in the years like we're in the mid 41,000s rather than the 40,000s anymore by this point. However, this guy Aaron Dimsky Bowden, I'm not sure how you say it, I guess, has said in an interview that it's all real and none of it's real. So the canon of 40K is a little loose with everything. Um, so everything you hear from me is kind of only half canon, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
In that a future work will change things and update them. So officially, it's still set in the 41st millennium, the 40,000s. Uh, Even though technically, if you do the math and you keep track of the stories, we're like 2 or 3 centuries. The storyline is farther along. So I said I'm gonna basically I'm lying to you from here on out.
I see. I see. Roast them, guys.
Yeah. Also, there's one other thing, and that is it's kind of mentioned in universe that time is not quite accurately kept anymore. There's a lot of reasons for that, but it's gotten a little wibbly wobbly. So that's kind of the main point, though. It's roughly the year 40,000.
Rough.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
roughly. That's where the universe gets its name from. And it takes place in our very own Milky Way galaxy. It's meant to be our future. So we right now are technically canon to 40K. Uh, that doesn't mean anything, but technically, on paper, the events of right now are canon to what's happening in 40K. And the story takes place across the entire galaxy, basically. So, uh, so the Imperium is spread out across most of the galaxy. Most of your factions are spread out to some degree or another across the entire galaxy. Uh, Now, the Imperium only has something in the area of 1,000,000 worlds, and you know how many stars there are in the galaxy.
I wanna say it's like 40 billion.
And more than that, actually, more like
Oh,
400 billion.
400 billion, not 40 billion.
Um, so you'll notice the slight disconnect between the numbers there. Uh,
Ah.
this is twofold. Number one, the people who write 40K are usually bad at numbers and don't know what the fuck they're doing, and also that there's a lot of stuff still unexplored. Uh, but as it kind of takes place across the whole galaxy, don't worry about specifics. I do not, off the top of my head, I cannot recall a single location other than the solar system that is like a real star that exists, or real anything that exists. Um, and so obviously science fiction takes place across the big galaxy. How do you travel across the galaxy? And after
Um,
all, I'll
Wormholes.
kind of. So this is the map of the galaxy I forgot to send it. Um,
Oh,
don't worry about the purple, except to know that it's bad. Uh, you see, in Star Trek, you use warp travel. In Star Wars, you use the hyperdrive. In Stellaris, you use the hyper jumps. Uh, I forget the hyper lanes. That's what they're called. In Warhammer 40K, you travel through hell,
oh,
and
I see.
it's called the warp, the immaterium, a few different things. Uh,
Okay.
and when I say hell, I kind of mean it like just no joke. It's hell. Uh, the This is one of the biggest things with 40K is the warp, the immaterium. Uh, so if you have psychic powers in 40K, you're drawing on the immaterium. If you travel faster than light, you're drawing on the immaterium. Uh, and the immaterium is a realm parallel to ours where emotions and thoughts have substance.
Okay, this is starting to sound a little like what was it Final Destination?
I haven't seen Final Destination.
Mild
The
spoilers to anybody listening. It's more or less these guys go through warp whatever thing to go to a ship to find that was wrecked and all that. But as they bring the ship back, they find out that more or less they went through what could only be explained as hell and merged with it and has like a soul. And then because of the hate of the people that were dead there, now the ship hates you, and like it just basically like it spreads the emotions through everything. So even typical matter basically can have hate.
So it's funny. I was gonna reference the movie we talked about. I think you were talking about the movie Event Horizon.
Event Horizon, not Final Destination. Yes, yes, yes. Uh, put robotic voice over what I said because I didn't say that. That was fake. That was test actually,
Yeah.
and you passed.
Um, it's funny. Event Horizon is brought up a lot. Yes, Event Horizon is effectively a 40K movie. Uh,
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
so when you go into the warp, it's really bad.
Uh huh.
Uh, there's a lot of, and so the thing is, because all of your thoughts and emotions, most people have negative emotions, have really strong negative emotions. And in a galaxy that's been fighting war for nonstop, there's a lot of negativity. So unfortunately, all that negativity is starting to has not started to has bundled together into a bunch of different things. So there's different creatures in the warp. There's little entities. A lot of them are called demons, obviously. Uh, and there are
Shocker.
four. Yeah, it's real. Wow, real subtle. Uh, and there's four big gods, which are sort of big coalesced masses of different negative emotions. Uh, and those are called the chaos gods. There's four important ones and a bunch of minor ones, sort of, kind of, not really. Don't worry about it. Nothing in the warp makes sense. Uh, so there's like no time in the warp. So like the chaos gods, for example, in the warp all have dates where they came into existence, but because there's no time in the warp, they have always existed, even though they have definitive dates where they came into existence. Uh, and it also means that traveling faster than light has a bad tendency to send you to a different time period. Um, ships might arrive before they left, or centuries after they left, or in some cases, other terrible effects will happen. And also it's not like fixed. The warp is closer to something like sailing on the open ocean. Um, so you end up with you end up with like storms in the warp. You end up having to navigate across this open expanse where you don't have any landmarks. You don't get to see anything. And normal humans cannot look into the warp. If you look into the warp for like a millisecond, your brain cooks and you die.
Ah, very Event Horizon like.
It's very Event Horizon like. There's another problem is if you go into the warp unprotected, you're going to be eaten by demons and the other creatures of the warp. Just you're going to be like instantly devoured. So they have invented in 40K something called the Geller field. The Geller field is great. It basically prevents any bugaboos from getting in.
Okay.
Now, if the Geller, you can imagine what happens if it fails.
Uh, Breach, and then you have
Yeah,
to deal with everything that's out there.
everything is everything is that was out there is now inside, and you are currently being turned into the plaything of some abomination from beyond imagining. Not good. Uh, so what's funny though is technically, despite how scary it is, warp travel is actually surprisingly reliable in Warhammer 40K, simply because the Imperium is so big. It has millions of ships traveling throughout the warp, and most of the time it's fine. That
Most
is
of the
terrible.
time. I was gonna say there's a little
Yeah,
pause there.
most of the time. But when it goes bad, it's over. You're cooked. And but I was saying, there's no method of getting landmarks. So there's this thing called the Astronomicon. It's basically like a lighthouse in the world. It's a beam emitted from Earth by the Emperor that allows people to orient themselves where they are in the warp. It is the most important thing because without it, the whole Imperium doesn't work. And
Gotcha.
the only people who can see the Astronomicon, though, are mutant humans called navigators. They're little freaks. I'll get a picture ready for you. They're little freaks. They have a third eye. Uh, they are pretty deformed, I think, to some degree. It kind of depends, to my understanding, on different lineages, but they have a bad tendency to get a little terrible. They can look into the warp without having their minds instantly get vaporized, which, as I said, most people can't do that. And so they need the navigators and they need the astronomical. And that's space travel in the Imperium. It's a bit of a nightmare. And Jimmy, do you have any questions so far? I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure how well
Um,
I laid this
well,
out.
my only question so far, you're probably getting to this actually pretty soon, is like what they do when those rifts open. Like, how do you seal that, or do you
Oh yeah,
not?
actually, that's a good thing. You don't.
Oh, cool. So that's just like a hey, just know that that's always a thing. So I imagine you either have to just avoid that, or they just have to put resources to just killing whatever comes through.
Yes. Kind of to both. There are a lot of times warp. There are like openings into it that are unstable. So I guess like when a ship goes into the warp, the rift behind it will close. But if there's like an accident or something, they can create unstable warp rifts that sometimes will close on their own and sometimes will be permanently open. If you recall that map of the galaxy, to my understanding, all of that purple are different warp areas where there's a lot of, where are areas where there's a warp rift.
Uh huh.
That looks like that's a lot of space.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about how large of a scale a rift could be.
Yeah, yeah, it's something that I think we'll probably have to get onto like in a different episode for details. But the Imperium has literally been sawed in half by warp rifts.
Oh,
This is, I say recent. I don't remember when it technically happened, but this is canonically a recent event. It's really bad, and people really want to try to close the warp rift. And there are a few technical ways to do it, but it's a big problem. Demons just come flooding out of that in places. Not great, really bad. Whole planets, I mean, a lot more than planets, like whole stellar systems have just fallen into the warp because of warp rifts. This kills everything there.
huh.
Or, correction, it kills you, and if it doesn't, you're going to wish it did.
I see.
Uh, so that's space travel. It's already, you can kind of pick up on the running theme, I think, of Warhammer 40k, can't you?
It
Everything's
went
bad.
wrong.
Yeah, it went wrong. That is the best way to describe it.
It went wrong.
Everything
Here
in
we are.
Warhammer 40k kind of sucks. Yeah, it's like it keeps getting worse. And this is something I think the next episode will be more focused on human history of the Imperium.
Hmm.
Everything has just been degrading for like the past 30,000 or 20,000 years in 40k canon. So it's just getting worse. And in canon, there is the plausible outcome of all this is that the boundary between the warp and the material world gets so weak that it collapses and the universes like merge. Very suboptimal because everybody will die.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So does that happen?
all
Because
the
everything goes wrong.
yeah. Well, actually, we don't know what's going to happen. A, Games Workshop probably won't kill the universe because it makes the money, and B,
Mm,
there's other alternatives that might happen instead, which are possibly better, possibly worse. And a lot of it relates to one big fella. He's he he's him. It's literally him,
that the emperor dude.
the Emperor, Big E, as people like as I hear people call him. He is the God Emperor of 40k. He is. It's him. It's literally him. He is a 14-foot tall, gleaming golden god man. He is also a spooky skeleton.
Hmm. He seems like a relic of the past that will certainly definitely not do anything in the future.
Oh, definitely. He's definitely his time is up. He's basically been turned into the world's largest flashlight bulb.
So why'd he die?
Uh,
Because he was still technically human? There's no way he's human. He's
oh, he's
huge.
he's human, sort of. He's not dead, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
So
Can he die?
so what?
Can he die?
Yeah, ooh, that's listen. That's you're drifting into heresy here,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
that's
say, is that
also
blasphemy?
really
My bad, my bad.
yeah. That's it's called heresy, and you will be killed now for this.
Oh.
Uh, we're going to flay you alive,
Oh.
and then we're gonna and then we're gonna mount the remains of your body as being the guy who opens a sliding glass door
Ah. Are they
for
gonna
10,000.
are they gonna answer my question before they kill me? Or do I just die and I
No,
never get to know? Okay.
yeah, you never get to know. So
I feel like he can
maybe
die though. You know why? Because why would you be mad?
listen, don't worry about it.
I mean, yeah, it's not gonna be up to me in a minute.
Yeah. Uh, so kind of to answer, I guess to actually answer your question, the Emperor is. This is a bit of side lore that's not super important really at the moment, but the Emperor is something called a perpetual, which means that he can't he can die, but it's really hard, and but like he tends to die and come back.
Hmm.
You can permanently erase a perpetual, but it's really hard. Off the top of my head, I can only think of it happening once. But the Emperor hasn't been allowed to die and come back for 10,000 years, which is probably not great for the man in any
Ah.
way, shape, or form.
So
And
basically, he
also,
did the temporary die, and they've made him into something that makes it so that he technically is like on his way back, but never actually getting closer.
yeah, and if he does end up fully dying, what comes off the Golden Throne may no longer be human. Uh, it's it's not great.
Hmm.
The few glimpses we get suggest really bad things are happening. And so, see, the Emperor was the most powerful psyker to ever live.
Hmm.
He has incredible psionic power, rivaling, if not equaling, the Chaos Gods. He's been around since the dawn of human history, and he's often disguised himself as different figures throughout history. So, like, he was Alexander the Great. Uh,
I was
as
gonna
I said, he
say,
was.
this guy sounded like some kind of a cross between like Zeus and like the stereotypical demon lords.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. He was Alexander the Great. This is the guy who tore down the Tower of Babel.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and that's like more or less canon, to my understanding. Uh, he basically tore down the Tower of Babel. He said he was Alexander the Great. He has helped try to guide humanity towards a better future. What that means, not really certain, because a lot of the Emperor's plans seem to have shat the bed and didn't go well. So what happened is humanity went through though the golden, glorious Star Trek golden age until about the 25th, 26th millennium when everything fell apart, and the Emperor, watching everything just go completely to hell in a handbasket, he was still on Earth, and he watched the planet descend into anarchy and chaos and just violence and death for millennia. So in about the 29th millennium, the Emperor finally goes, "That's it. I'm taking matters into my own hands," and he leads his armies to unify the Earth. Uh, Now he's the most powerful psyker to ever live. You like this is a guy like you look on him and he literally radiates golden energy if he doesn't turn that off. Uh,
Hmm.
he is he is. And we're both Christians, so obviously we have a slightly different perspective on religiosity. But this is like imagine one of the Greek gods just walks down from Olympus. Like this
Right.
guy just plug walking around. Uh,
He's still lining up with my interpretation of it. Like the stereotypical demon lords always have like some kind of an aura or a presence that they're suppressing, but even though they're suppressing, it doesn't matter. Like it bleeds through anyway because there's that much of it.
yeah. I mean, he is kind of in that vein, but and there is debate whether the Emperor technically does qualify as a human. He is not a demon. Critically, he is not a demon. I do know that much because he has a physical body. Uh,
Hmm.
Demons don't have physical bodies in 40k. They are only stuff of the warp, which is very important to their existence. But yeah, so the Emperor manages to unite the Earth with his armies. He creates the first Space Marines do in the process. He manages to unify the Earth with Mars. And he leads this glorious Great Crusade to reunify the human empire under his control.
Hmm.
So one thing leads to another, and his son Horus is like, "It's over, Emperor. I am the Warhammer 40k now." And Horus cripples the Emperor, beats him to a pulp before the Big E wins and kills Horus. And the Emperor has been left in a vegetative coma ever since. That was 10,000 years ago in canon. He was stuck on the Golden Throne as a consequence, where he powers the Astronomicon. Uh, and I said he is just a mobile now.
Hmm.
It's really bad. He can't speak, he can't communicate. Uh, but so the Emperor didn't want to be worshipped as a god, but you know how he looks and act and like feels like in every attribute like a god.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess what people started doing the moment he ended up on the Golden Throne?
I would for sure they started like worshiping or praying or whatever.
Exactly. Do you remember what I said about emotions and beliefs and their effect in Warhammer 40k?
Oh, I thought that was just in hell.
Oh, so it is technically in hell, but hell bleeds back into reality.
Okay, and he is not in hell here, right?
He's not in hell, but he has a. Okay, I guess I didn't explain it very well, and I'm sorry. That is my mea culpa. The Emperor is in the real world, but hell, the warp, is where like your soul is and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it bleeds into reality. So if you get enough people together who believe something strongly enough, they will affect the warp, which in turn ripples back into reality.
Ah, so kind of the like you stare into the abyss stares back at you kind of thing.
Yeah. So you can gather now what the problem is with the Emperor. He has been worshipped and revered by a whole galaxy of human beings
Huh.
for 10,000 years.
And he doesn't want that. So I assume that did something or is doing something.
It is actively doing something. The Emperor is probably definitely 1,000,000% a god now. He has demons of his very own. That's a heretical interpretation of what goes on, but that's how I interpret it. He he can actually possess people now. He possesses one of his other sons, the Imperial Regent Robute Gilliman. Um, and he has started to get more active, like psychically, recently.
Hmm.
Uh, Now this is all probably bad because the last time a god was created, it vaporized most of the species that created it.
Ah.
Uh,
Dude, he is a demon lord. Then I'm telling you, that's what they do.
yeah,
They take a ton of sacrifices, and that's how they go to their powerful form, whatever. And then it's like,
oh
ta-da!
yeah,
I use the sacrifice, but he's basically a demon.
yeah, kind of. I said Demon in 40K has a different belief than what you're thinking of because you're thinking of anime. Uh,
Maybe.
Although the Emperor does have 1,000 psychers sacrificed to him every single day to keep him alive.
I'm just saying, man. There's a lot of things lining up.
Uh, yeah.
They may not
So
call
there's
it
a
that, but
lot of
that's what I call that.
yeah. Listen, the Emperor. There's a lot that goes into him. I said I'm kind of just doing a bit of a rundown. Uh,
Yeah, we're
but
going
that
sort of surface
we're go-
introductory level here first,
yeah,
but
surface quick, and we're gonna focus more later. But that's the Emperor in a nutshell. And so the Imperium, which the Emperor rules over, as I said, the Emperor is technically still the absolute ruler of the Imperium. Of course, problem is the Emperor has been stuck on his big lazy chair for 10,000 years and won't say anything. So uh, the Imperium has actually been governed by a bunch of assholes for the last 10,000 years uh, until one of his sons, Primarch is what they're called, Rabute Gilliman, got brought back, who is now currently the Imperial Regent.
hmm.
Uh, Rabute Gilliman is kind of, I mean, all Primarchs are kind of Giga Chads, but Gilliman is basically like, imagine the platonic ideal of a competent ruler, and
Hmm.
that's basically him. He is like the one of the best leaders to ever exist in like ever. Uh, so anyway, though, yeah. So the Imperium, it's currently being headed by Bobby G. He is probably the best guy to bring back because the thing you gotta know about the Imperium is that it kind of sucks, like everything else in 40K. It is a feudal theocracy that is just bureaucratic and oppressive, and everything just runs terribly. It's been ran by this group called the High Lords of, or that just the High Lords, or the High Lords of Terra, for 10,000 years effectively, before the Gilliman came back. And the High Lords, a lot of them were just like rich and not very competent. So there was a lot of problems. There was some, effectively, like there's been civil wars and a lot of violence, a lot of problems, and the common people obviously get the shaft. Most your worlds in 40K, all the different planets, they're left alone as long as they pay their taxes, because that's the one thing you can't escape, even in the far future, is taxes. Don't you talk?
Unfortunately. Oh yeah, no, they're my absolute favorite. I love seeing half a paycheck just disappear.
Yeah, the IRS is still around. Uh,
Of course.
Although in 40K, a lot of times you don't pay taxes anymore by money. You pay it by goods or by min. So a lot of planets will pay the imperial taxes, the tithe as it's called, in the form of soldiers for the army. Uh, Other worlds have different special tithes and so forth. And a lot of times, though, the planets, as long as the governor pays the tithe on time, or sometimes can maybe get away by skirting a little bit, but as long as you pay the tithe, you can govern the world basically however you want. This means that most imperial worlds are corrupt, personalistic little despotates of some governor. Uh, a lot of them too actually are developed up to about where we are on Earth today, probably a little beyond that. So there's a few billion people. They live and work in lives that probably aren't too dissimilar to our own.
Hmm.
On some worlds, there are like a bunch of little countries that exists uh, as like autonomous vassals of the governor, and they'll fight. They'll send armies and so forth. There are feudal worlds which are on a lower level of tech, so they might there might be worlds out there that have like Stone Age levels technology, primitive worlds, and they'll still have an imperial governor, uh, and they'll still pay taxes. There's also higher tech worlds. There's the Forge worlds, which produce a bunch of industry. There are hive worlds, which are worlds dominated by hive cities, effectively big, gigantic urban sprawls that reach up into the sky, miles upon miles into the sky, and house billions upon billions of people. One of the most famous hive worlds, aside from the Earth, which is also a hive world in 40k, is the world of Necromunda, which at the last attempted census they got up to I believe it's 100 billion, and then they gave up counting.
Huh.
So you get lots of variety in the world. There's only a few things you have to do. Is you have to pay your taxes, you have to follow the imperial religion, the imperial cult of worshiping the emperor, and you have to hate aliens, hate mutants, and hate chaos, the heretic. Also, I said Earth. It's actually now called Holy Terra. It is the throne world upon which the emperor rests. It is an ecumenopolis, and it is overcrowded and a slum. The entire planet, effectively. Uh, like, and the Imperial Palace, for example, in 40k,
Hmm.
is just the entire Himalayan mountain range.
Ah.
There's something called there's the Eternity Gate, which I believe is literally miles high as the entrance to the palace. It is the scale is insane. Uh,
Funny enough, I'm honestly kind of surprised that with the scale of everything else in that universe, the palace isn't like basically the size of a planet.
yeah. Well, see, the Emperor was modest. Uh,
Modest
in
as he
some
radiates
sense,
gold.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the emperor's yeah, the emperor is modest. He will merely have a palace the size of the Himalayas. Uh, when the emperor still reigned, this was for practical reasons. The Earth was a well developed planet at the time. During Horus, when he revolted, it's the Horus heresy. I don't know if I actually use the term. Uh, they bombed the Earth into being a shithole, and it never really recovered. Uh, so a lot of problems for a long time. Uh, and so then you have like your hive cities and stuff. Those are generally the worst place, some of the worst places to live. Although there are also worlds called death worlds, which are planets where the living conditions are so bad that effectively you have to be like a Giga Chad to live there. Well, one of the most famous is a planet called Krieg, which is the most subtle name in the universe.
Hmm.
Krieg produces soldiers by the just absolute insanity. Uh, and the planet is an irradiated nightmare hellscape because a few hundred years before the story of 40k starts, the planet's government tried to secede and it prompted a civil war that effectively nuked the whole planet into the Stone Age and killed everything living on the surface. And so the planet's an irradiated little hellball, uh, and the people there have this insane martial cult. And the difficulty of just living on the planet means that the Krieg soldiers are some of the best in the entire galaxy.
Hmm. Okay. So
Yeah.
how many do they produce?
So the scale of the armies is really bad. And so it's only like millions, which is insanely low. It should be a lot higher. Uh, like planetary invasion armies in 40k are smaller than the armies that fought in World War II. It none of the numbers make sense. Uh, so don't worry about the actual numbers part. It's not useful at all. Um, but I said most planets are also not like anything particularly special. As I said, most I don't know if most people would live under these conditions, but most planets are roughly Earth-like to some degree. There's like there are some that are like paradise worlds too that are really good places to live. Usually meant for the rich, obviously. The nobility of the Imperium go to like a pleasure planet for a holiday.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Listen, I don't. I don't want to just say that this is that these are planets of Epstein Islands, but kind of probably yes.
Oh, not oh boy.
Uh, it's but some of them are also like the some of them are just like planets with natural beauty too. So there's some normal planets. It's not all like 40K is grimdark, so in general things are really bad, but there are moments of brightness within it, and there has to be really, because if it's all bad all the time, it gets monotonous. But those little glimmers of brightness usually exist to help contrast the nightmare hellscape around them, which amplifies everything. And also because if they ever show up in a story, it means they're usually going to be destroyed.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's like the planets of the Imperium. The Imperium is held together by the Imperial cult. They worship the Big E. Uh, the religion is pretty fanatical at all times, and they teach people to worship Big E, to revere the Imperial state, to hate mutants, to hate aliens, to hate heretics, which are like cultists, witches, so forth. Um, anyone who disagrees with the imperial government is a heretic, and a lot of this internal stuff is held together by the Inquisition. They go out and they seek out different deviancies within the Imperium. There's also going to be like local police forces and stuff, so it's not just the Inquisition. The Inquisitors are like the big guys that get called in when things are going a little wrong. They have effectively unlimited power. They really nothing can stop them. So if they want you dead, they'll just have you executed, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Because obviously there's no trials or anything. There's no like rule of law. There's no freedoms. The Inquisitors will specialize in different things. So like some of them will focus on hunting out alien influences. Some will focus on hunting out chaos influences. So on and so forth. Lots of different power. The Inquisitors, the big scary secret police guys. There's also not a huge number of them. So like there are whole worlds that may never be visited by an Inquisitor for 1,000 years. Like as long as you're doing fine, you're not going to be visited by them. And when you're being visited by them, it's probably a sign things are going to pot. Uh,
Yeah.
and and so if I mentioned the Imperial cult and stuff, there is one other religion in 40K, and
Mm-hmm.
that is my favorite guys. I can there's the image of them. It is the Machine Cult. This is the only other religion tolerated by the Imperium. Technically, it's tolerated by Big E even, and Big E hated religion when he was still ruling. These guys worship the Omnis. They worship the Machine God, and it's kind of like a Christian Trinity derived religion where they have the Machine God, the Omnissiah, and the Motive Force as like the Holy Ghost. Uh, not don't want to get too much into it because we need to do a full breakdown. They consider technology to be sacred. They want to become machines, but they hate AI. They are trying to rediscover all technology that used to exist, and they rarely invent things. In fact, they often consider invention itself to be heretical.
Hmm.
They run all of your tech stuff. So, like, when you turn on a computer, Nathan, you just push the power button. The Mechanicus will light up some incense. They'll sprinkle sacred oils over the computer. They'll say the prayer of starting 5 times, and then they'll push the power button because you have to appease the machine spirit within the machine, which is definitely not AI. Probably, actually, truthfully, not AI in most cases. It may not even exist. In some cases, but you have to appease the machine spirit and appease the machine so it works properly. If you don't treat your machine properly and you don't appease the machine spirit, it'll start acting badly or it'll break.
Hmm.
And as I said, these guys run all of your technology.
So I imagine if I try to run any of my own technology, and once again, branded heretic, and die.
Yeah, they'll kill you. It is kind of weird. I believe technically you could theoretically have sciences independent of the machine cult. There's the way the Imperium is structured is that it's kind of a double entity. So the Adeptus Mechanicus is effectively like an autonomous, separate empire within the empire. They consider Big E to be the Omnissiah, one part of their trinity. Uh, so they worship Big E just in a very different way from everyone else. The the thing is that the Mechanicus like they have such a monopoly over all industry and technology and so forth that really nobody can like do anything to stop them.
Hmm.
Because if you like try to challenge the Mechanicus' authority on anything, they'll just say, "Okay, we're gonna stop sending you all of the material equipment that you need to continue existing."
Hmm.
Uh, it's really hard to deal with them like without getting just instantly vaporized. Like they don't have to kill you; they can just completely fuck over the imperial governor on the world you're on, and that imperial governor will have you shot just to appease them. Even the Inquisition has a hard time getting to them a lot because of just their control over technology, how total it is. And effectively, every spaceship, every war machine will have some relation with some tech priest. So it's really hard to get away from them. Although, as I said, I think theoretically you could. Like, it's not illegal, I don't think, but no planetary governor, no lord, no one is going to even try because the risk is too great.
Right. They become too influential at that point that like you almost rely on them, so you can't openly disagree with them.
Yeah, like Big E could not deal with these guys. Like he could not break them down. What chance do you, not Big E, have? I keep calling him Big E. I need to just call him the Emperor, but I really like Big E as a nickname. Like the Emperor could not deal with these guys. He could not break them. Uh, he wasn't even sure after he unified. So that's one thing I guess I did mention. The Adeptus Mechanicus live on Mars, as well as a bunch of other worlds, but their headquarters is on Mars. So when the Emperor unified the Earth, he effectively agreed to let the Adeptus Mechanicus have all their privileges as a united front between Earth and Mars, because he was not sure if he could beat them in a war. Probably could have, but he wasn't sure, and the losses would have been too great. And it's just the problem has just continued since.
Hmm.
They're one of my favorite factions because they're really funny guys. Uh, Also, the Machine God definitely 100% exists, and it probably isn't what they think it is. So it's they're not doing well actually. Uh,
Sounds about right.
and kind of the kind of the final big thing is the Imperial different military and stuff. The Imperium obviously maintains the spaceships. They have a lot of different militaries. You'll see. Uh, so you see like a lot of different images of Warhammer 40k soldiers. Since a lot of your soldiers are raised on a planet by planet basis, they'll have different designs that will look different. But one of the most common that a lot of people see are the Cadian troopers when you see 40k soldiers, because Cadia was a very big planet with a lot of soldiers, so you see a lot of them out there, and their art is pretty common. But there's a lot of other different types, uh, and those are for normal humans. So the majority of the Imperial armed forces is composed of normal people fighting all kinds of nightmare abominations, which is really cool.
Yeah, that does seem like, knowing the description you gave of like hell and everything that comes through all this rift makes a lot more sense now why pretty much everything I've seen depicted for Warhammer is just most of the time humans battling some not human thing, and a lot of them.
Yeah, that's generally how it goes. And the Imperium's main strength is that it has such just there's so many humans out there. They can levy such huge armies that they can just throw troops and material at the problem until it's dead.
So we just D-Day every day, but worse.
Every day across 1,000 planets, more soldiers die than probably if you go from like actual realistic numbers, probably billions of soldiers die every single day in the Imperium. Now, the actual canon numbers are going to be a lot lower, but realistically, that's like the insane scale we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts.
The yeah, that's the Imperial Army. There's also, like I said, there's more other forces. There's like the local planetary forces, the planetary defense forces that are kind of like a local militia. There will be air forces. If a world has oceans, there would be a navy. Uh, and obviously there's the spaceships. But the thing is, you can play all this on the tabletop, and they're all really cool. But everybody knows one thing from 40k. Like everybody knows it. It's the big guys,
Yeah,
the Space Marines.
the
Everybody
Space
knows.
Marine. Yeah, the one game that I
Yeah,
played 20 minutes of, played
yeah,
in quotes heavily.
uh, yeah, yeah. So Space Marines are genetically modified human soldiers. They are like 8 feet tall without their armor. Uh, like incredibly tough, unarmored, and in their armor, they're like insane levels of toughness. Uh, it only takes from a lot of worlds. Like if Space Marines are invading like the Earth, like the real Earth, right now, it probably wouldn't even take 1,000 of them to just conquer the planet.
Hmm.
They're they're just beyond us. You see those guns they fire?
Yeah.
Like those are called bolters, and they fire effectively like to my understanding, and I could be wrong, but to my understanding, they fire effectively little like rocket powered mortar shells. Like
Jeez.
one of those will just vaporize a human being.
Jeez.
They
Are
are
they just actual super soldiers, or is it largely due to the reinforced armor?
they're actual super soldiers. That's what I'm saying. Like they are hugely distorted. So you take a small child
Uh-huh.
and you afflict them with a lot of different distortions and stuff, and you
Hmm.
make them into like 8 foot tall super soldiers that are incredibly strong, incredibly fast, incredibly durable. Like they don't age the same way we do, so a space marine could theoretically live indefinitely. They rarely do, for obvious reasons, but they theoretically could. They, I said, they're incredibly durable. They can live in the vacuum of space for a period of time. They can withstand damage that would kill a normal human a dozen times over. Uh, there's
Hmm.
they don't reproduce the same way we do, though. So they produce something called gene seed, which
Hmm.
I mean, is sperm basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It,
Sounds like something.
uh, uh, but the gene seed is like it has to be physically extracted from a space marine and implanted in new neophytes who are going to become space marines. So
Oh,
it's not like a. It's funny. It feels like it's going to be a sexual thing, and it's not at all. Space marines are, to my understanding, effectively unable to be sexual anymore. They don't feel that way anymore.
yeah. It sounds like what they're doing is more akin to just gene splicing.
Yeah, they are well, and they make artificial organs and splice them into them,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's just a lot that goes into them. They are there's only about 1,000 chapters of them in the galaxy, and each chapter is 1,000 space marines, roughly. Uh, Actual numbers, obviously, nobody knows. Uh, in the tabletop, people are encouraged to make their own custom chapters with their own lore and stuff. There are, and they used to be divided into legions. There was 20 legions total, one for each of the emperor's sons. All of that statement has asterisks by it. Uh, but after the Horus Heresy, half of the legions were banished to hell. The other half were split up into the chapters. The loyal ones were split up into chapters. But there's still legacy of that. So like you'll have one legion is called the Ultramarines, and now there's the Ultramarines chapter. But there's also a bunch of other Ultramarine descendant chapters that are all kind of similar-ish, and they're all kind of related to each other. And those are all descendants of Rabute Gilliman, the Imperial Regent. So they're all kind of connected together, even though they're technically not under one banner, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And as I said, they're incredibly strong. They're not the strongest human genetic soldiers in the galaxy, but they're incredibly strong. They do a lot of the fighting. Actually, technically, I think they do less fighting than you would think because again, there's only like 1,000 chapters of them. So they only go into the fight when it's the most bad.
Hmm.
They fight all the really big bads, and a lot of times get creamed in the process. But they're the big soldiers. They're what everybody knows about 40k. They the big super soldiers who are super tough and super strong, and they do all the big fighting. And as I said, everybody knows them. Everybody loves them. That's a lie. Everybody hates them. But they are the big Warhammer 40k guys. On the tabletop, they're like the most common set of models and so forth. Uh, it's like the, I mean, you get kind of what's going on there.
Yeah. So there's essentially perpetual war, not just because they're claiming territory, but also the rift is opened all over the place and it stays open. So there's just stuff pouring out. Some resources is put to blocking all that. Some is just killing stuff in general or probably defending. There's stupid numbers of soldiers that are sent everywhere because they have a stupid number of soldiers. And there's these space marines and ultramarines that are like the elite that are sent when like you absolutely have to, but they're kind of used more sparingly because I imagine they still have a ton of those, but like not like normal troops.
Yeah, as I said, 1,000 chapters of 1,000 each. That's only like 1,000,000 for the whole galaxy, which is way too small. But that's beside the point. Uh, yeah, so like that's kind of the rough gist of a lot of it. As I said, it's not just the rifts and not just stuff coming out of the warp. To be fair, there's also aliens, which I haven't really touched on because there's some different factions that we should do an in-depth discussion on later. Uh, do you have any particular questions? Though that's kind of a very rough idea of the Imperium and the setting to begin with. Do
Not
you
at
have any?
the moment, because the main questions I had initially were at least about like how hell supposedly worked and the Emperor and stuff, but we went over those. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
there'll be a lot more specific factions and whatnot. But I feel like I've got a good idea of the setting of
Mhm.
kind of a little bit of what the I say world, but like this is the point of galaxy or galaxies. Uh, Mainly just the one galaxy, right? It looked like it was.
Yeah, it's just the Milky Way. There have been expeditions to the large and small Magellan. I can't pronounce it. The nearby galaxies to us. There have been expeditions, but they have never made it, to my understanding.
Ah,
I am, unfortunately, my speech impediment seems to be kicking in for that word.
how's it spelled?
I could not spell it off the top of my head. They're dwarf galaxies which orbit the Milky Way. They're closer to the Earth than the other end of the galaxy is, which is why theoretically they should have been explored. But nobody knows what's going on, so we don't know. Uh, I think they've only been mentioned in fluff once or twice. And as you can kind of pick up on, Chaos is really kind of the big bad of the setting. Technically, officially, the statement is that there's no good guys in 40K, and that's a mantra which causes a lot of controversy in the fan base. But there's definitively the worst guys, and that's probably Chaos because of the warp, the hellish forces are just that evil that there's nothing redeeming to them, just nothing at all. And that's like a rough overview of Warhammer 40K. Uh,
Yeah, just the quick, hour and a half overview. It's just no big deal.
I mean, I do we'll trim this video down, but I expect. I mean, it's up to you, obviously, if you don't want to go long. Probably trying to shoot for more like hour long for each specific one. So this kind of gives me a good guide on how much how much info to keep on. I
For sure.
I hope
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of info.
mhm.
But also it's a lot
it'll
of
be more focused though.
it's a lot of things about a lot of things. Which
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes it harder. When it's focused on one thing, it's a bit easier to stay focused on it.
Yeah, it should be more focused, and I hope you'll stay enjoying it because I do like talking about it. I mean, you're gonna be around, I think, for more, but thank you for putting up with me.
I wouldn't call it that, but yeah, it's interesting
Fun.
stuff. I'm glad at least I only knew a couple of other things about the series, not much though, mostly just the orcs, but like I feel like I have at least some context now.
Yeah, I don't know. That's us. I've I've I'm having a stroke. That's us with the Schola Stultorum. Uh,
Hooray!
it's as I said, we're Adeptus Ridiculous ripoff by two non-entities who don't know what we're doing, and
Ta-da.
yeah, and I said I can't wait to be called a tourist by the one person who sees this video.
It's gonna be me.